seriously good stretch of games for Olympiacos, I would say, in the last 3-4 game rounds.
Are you saying that Olympiacos are back?
I mean, they're back at the top. They're one win away from being number one. So you could say that they're back.
And they're in the perfect spot because they don't want to be number one in the regular season, right?
Right.
Because you're not winning the EuroLeague if you're number one.
You want to be second. And Olympiacos has learned this lesson. They've already won the regular season a few times and then didn't win the championship. But I guess, it's nice to see them collecting themselves after this big loss of Keenan Evans, the big hopes being broken right in your face in a couple of minutes. Now, a couple of wins to make that bad feeling go away. Of course, they lost against Milano, I think, last seconds, 88-87. That was a close game. But this game that we saw last night against Paris, they were really solid, I think, even though they were a bit pressured at the beginning and felt that pressure by Paris. I think it kind of took them out of their comfort zone, and that's why Paris were able to start the game a bit better. But then it switched, and if we go into the details of the game, I feel like it switched as soon as Nikola Milutinov was out of the court. I know, offensively, he was great because the big body against, Paris, smaller bigs is great to have. Offensive rebounds, just offensive presence. They were going to the post with him because obviously you don't want to play Paris type of game against Paris. You don't want to race for points and then shoot a lot of threes and play their game. No, you want to make it uncomfortable for them. So they tried with Milutinov, who was pretty good. But I thought defensively they just fell apart with him there because he was too slow and he was attacked on the pick and rolls a lot. And Paris essentially got a lot of easy buckets by just dumping the ball down to the big man who was wide open. And as soon as Dante Hall was on the floor, that problem was a bit solved because he is more mobile. He's obviously a bigger, let's say, shot blocker, rim protector. So just generally, defensively, they picked it up from the second quarter with Thomas Walkup, with Tyson Ward, and Dante Hall on the court. And that's where they made their run to go ahead.
Good point. Because actually, Milutinov is having a great season. I think that he is playing at all EuroLeague team level. First one, second one is the matter of discussion, but I mean, he's really solid. Just this matchup, Paris basketball, was not his matchup to perform, although he had some good numbers, as I mentioned. Also, free offensive boards, it helps. But in general, looking at the team picture, things were not going well. They lost the first quarter by 8 points, and they bounced back, winning the second quarter by 17. And they actually, although you could say defensively it helped Olympiacos, but at the same time they scored 37, and they had the best offensive quarter in the EuroLeague this season. And
it's because they also got stops.
Exactly.
So when you get stops, it's easier to score.
A lot of stops were coming from Dante Hall, actually. And I was astonished by Dante's Hall's rim protection. He had some amazing defensive stops. At the same time, I was shocked how naive the EuroLeague rookie Jared Rhoden was actually because he tried to posterize Dante Hall. Of all people, you pick Dante Hall to posterize in your first EuroLeague game. That's just wrong. But, of course, he missed that dunk. But Dante Hall forced... I had this stretch at the start of the second quarter, which was crucial because it was a turning point of the game in my eyes. He made some great deflections. He tipped the ball that translated in 2 fast break points. Then he forced, Hall forced Rhoden's turnover offensively. Then that was dismissed dunk. Dante Hall was on the other side of the floor, finishing a great lob. Once again, he forced Rhoden to another turnover when he just tried to be aggressive, but in the end, under the rim, he just couldn't do anything, and he passed the ball out of bounds. And although when you look at the box score, Dante Hall had only I would say 4 points in the second quarter.
In the second quarter, yeah.
But his impact was huge. He kind of created another 10 or so in fast break situations.
How do you, to quote the great Dainius Adomaitis, you don't need to be smart, you need to be honest. And you look at the box score and you see honestly that the impact is plus 23 plus minus for Dante Hall, minus 11 for Milutinov. That's all the numbers you need to see, essentially.
Yeah.
One guy was getting you in a deficit. The other guy was essentially in all the stretches he played in, the team went up and had runs. And yeah, defensively started there, really. What else?
And it helped to get Paris numbers down. Because in the first half, they were shooting like crazy. I mean, of course, it starts from Justin Robinson.
Oh, my God. He had like 4 threes in the first quarter?
5 threes in the first quarter.
5 threes.
He was hot.
Wow.
I was already checking like, okay, was the single game scoring record this season? Was the single game 3-point record this season? Which is actually 36 points. So he was just one shot away from breaking the record, 1 point shy of tying it. And 3-point record belongs to Andy Obst, 9 threes this year. So actually Carson Edwards ended up very close to beat that record last night with 8 3-pointers. But getting back to Justin Robinson, I mean, he had an amazing night. And most of these shots went in the first half. And Paris were shooting 56% from 3, 10 of 18, 6 by Justin Robinson. And just in general, field goal shooting was 56%. But in the second half, numbers dropped dramatically. Their 3-point shooting went down to 26 and field goal shooting an overall 38. And for Paris basketball, the team that relies so much on the pace, shooting the ball well is crucial.
For sure.
So
I mean, yeah, they missed every shot that mattered at the end, because if you remember, the game was close in the fourth quarter. It was a run by Olympiacos in the last 4 minutes or so, where
although you
Paris,
could feel that Olympiacos had an advantage.
Yeah, but the score was what, 3 points deficit or whatever. Like, it wasn't that far away, and it depended how those last possessions will go. And in that last stretch, they just missed every important shot. Whether that was Watura, how is it? Utara, yeah, or Robinson, who had like 7 threes. He had one more only in the last in the second half. So I just think they missed their shots, essentially, and Olympiacos didn't. Olympiacos made their shots, and it was mostly Fournier, actually, with his clutch buckets. 3-pointer, then a 2-pointer as well. Dorsey also, Dorsey's been great in general, but like one of those turnaround fadeaway shots he made. And I just think what the lesson is from this whole game is that Olympiacos had to say, okay, so we won't have Keenan Evans. I know, Coach Barsakas probably had in his head the schemes now changing. Everyone's, adjusting to kind of new roles, with Keenan Evans being the alpha dog. We don't have him anymore. We go back to what made us great in the last seasons. And it starts with, for me at least, it starts with Thomas Walkup. I think with him on the court, the game looked significantly better than with any of the other guards running the ball. So when Thomas was there, he actually dealt with that insane pressure, full court press by Paris, the best out of all the guards. He was dishing out assists. He had, I think, 6 in this game.
6 assists, 0 turnovers.
Yeah, a lot of these long cross-court passes, seeing the guys in the corners, and finding teammates, which... look at the other nominal point guard in Nilikina. 0 assists in this game. Of course, he scored a couple of buckets, but you don't have a lot of creation from Nilikina. So you're relying on Thomas Walkup, and I think he was the most reliable guy on the court when it comes to handling the ball. Of course, then other guys had to step up as well, because now it's not, it's not going to be just Walkup. It's Tyson Ward playmaking a little bit, and actually a great game from him as well, knocking down 2 threes in the first half, and just all around, I think he's kind of a underrated guy who, not, the stats don't jump out in your face most of the time, but he's filling the stat sheet everywhere, and just the impact he has on the court. Defensively, offensively, running the break as well. He's one of the few Olympiacos players to really sprint down the floor, and sometimes that converts into buckets. So I think him, obviously Fournier, you need to talk about Fournier in this game.
Just two things. Thomas Walkup, once again, 0 field goal made during the game, and of course he hits a crucial three,
the 1-3
to increase the lead by 6 in the last minutes of the fourth quarter. It just there is this meme, stats like here and impact here. So Thomas Walkup is one of these guys in the EuroLeague that completely fits that meme because his impact is undeniable. And Tyson Ward, you mentioned about his stat sheet not always being very exciting, but when you look at yesterday's stat sheet, 12 points, okay, it's okay, but plus and minus, plus 20 in his 22 minutes, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. That's amazing stat line. But of course...
Yeah, but I was just referring more like to his averages, which is like 7.5 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. But it's more about like...
True.
Overall,
making impact.
Yeah.
And Evan Fournier, I mean...
best game so far in the season, or...
Number-wise, yes.
Yeah.
And, for Fournier, I think it's important to have these numbers. We just mentioned guys that it's not like caring too much about the numbers, but that's the numbers who actually displays their inputs on the court. And Fournier had a season-high 18-point performance. He hit 3 threes in the second half, 4 in total, which was huge because it felt like he didn't have confidence yet starting the season. He actually had just like a couple of weeks ago, he had a stretch of 4 games where he had minus PAR, 4 consecutive games. He started this game against Paris hitting one almost open corner 3 on the top of the backboard. Then there was another kind of ugly miss. And what I loved the most was the reaction of the fans. They started clapping, supporting the guy. There you see Thomas Walkup once again standing, supporting the guy, clapping. And despite the fact that the team was down, Fournier probably was mentally down, they were supporting him. And then the second half, you see him scoring a lot. He had 13 points in the second half. You see him having fun. There was this moment when he stole the ball and one of the crucial defensive stops in the fourth quarter. He dunked it, and Paris took a timeout, and Kostas Papanikolaou on the bench was showing like this. Because, he didn't dunk. He was open. He could have dunked it, but it was some old school, retro, ugly layup, Papanikolaou was like this. Thomas Walkup was like this. And when you have guys like that, I mean, we're talking about chemistry. I think I mentioned this chemistry thing that will help Olympiacos to survive tough times.
Yep.
That helps to boost these guys like Fournier having a really, really slow start. Yeah. And when you have this environment, when you have these teammates, these veterans who know how to boost you, how to be supportive, it just like, that's why I think that even when Olympiacos weren't winning, they had this strong backbone on defense and also on their chemistry that will, at some point, they will collect themselves and they will be fine.
Yeah, for sure. And, you said numbers maybe not always are important or whatever, but Evan Fournier is the guy in that team whose role is to get numbers offensively. He needs to be the scorer. And obviously, the biggest problem for him was starting the season, getting injured, and then missing 4 game rounds, and then coming back slowly. And he was just missing a lot of shots. His comeback stretch was crazy, like 1 from 13 from 3 in the first 2 games after the injury. And now, like you said, last game against Milano, 10 points, 3 of 4 from 3. Now 18 points, 4 of 9 from 3, and especially when those buckets came, like I said, at the end of the game when it actually mattered. That was the run that decided Olympiacos is going to win that game.
In the last 2 games against Milan and Paris, he hit as many threes as in the first, not 10 rounds because he missed a couple of games, but still in
first those other ones,
7 games.
Right.
That's huge for Evan Fournier.
Yeah. Yeah, so a great win for Olympiacos. I think they're now, we're going to do another clip today saying, looking at the standings and all that, how so far. Because kind of the November is almost over. Essentially, we have next week, and then there's a window for FIBA, right? So only games on Tuesday and Wednesday, I believe. So essentially, the month is done. Olympiacos has one more game left. I don't remember who they're
and
playing.
they have they've been one of the best teams in November, actually.
Right.
There were only 5 teams in total that had a positive winning record in the EuroLeague. I mean, 5 of 20 teams had at least 3-1 or 4 wins in total, and Olympiacos was one of them, the 3-1.
And they could have won against Milan. I mean, in those last minutes, they lost that game. So
and at the same time, they kind of survived this shock of Keenan Evans' injury, and at the same time, now they know that they need a guy to replace Keenan Evans. They're on the market, so they're looking for some addition. Probably they will take their time to find an upgrade, not just another body. They have enough bodies. It's enough, really. Olympiacos, stop it. Stop adding players. But they need somebody to give extras. So market is not very good for that. But there are some dropouts in the NBA. Monte Morris is one of them who was on the radar of the EuroLeague teams. Cody Joseph is offered to the EuroLeague teams as well. So there might be some interesting pickups coming from the NBA. And when you see Olympiacos getting back to their rhythm, and when you know that they will upgrade their roster, I think that's quite promising.
Yeah. And the next game, actually, I just checked. It's against Crvena Zvezda at their home. You know, the history, the two clubs chanting the same, you know.
It's a must-watch atmosphere.
They have the same chance. They're going to be, obviously, it's going to be a great atmosphere. It's going to be a great game. Obviously, two of the top teams in the EuroLeague right now. I think we're going to be covering that game, Donatas. I'm not going to lie.